Hey guys, with Scares That Cares weekend coming up this next week, which is the 21st through the 24th, if you want to come down to Williamsburg, Virginia, and buy some books and check out a cool convention. Even though they don't want to call it a convention, they're calling it like a charity event because it is a cool charity. I've been really kind of getting stuff ready, and I haven't watched anything really noteworthy, anything I really want to make a video about, talk about. So today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to make a how-to, and what I'm teaching you how to do is how to sell books at conventions. Naturally, I'm a horror author. I sell horror novels and novellas and short stories, so that's what I sell at my table. Many of you are probably watching this video saying, I'm not an author, and I rarely, if ever, go to conventions. Hopefully you'll still find something entertaining and interesting in this video. And if you're an author who writes sci-fi or fantasy or any other genre, you sell comics, if you're an artist and you sell your own kind of stuff, hopefully throughout my trial and error of selling books, I'll have learned something that I can pass on to you that will still be of help even if you're not in my genre. So one more disclaimer before we start. This is stuff that has worked for me. I'm by no means an expert in this. I've done this maybe 10 times. Started out not doing it well and learned a little bit every time. Everyone's got a different approach and everyone has a different personality. And not only like personality, but you have different ways of thinking about things and different ways of being able to do things, and they're all completely valid. This is stuff that has worked for me personally, so don't take offense if you can't or don't want to do any of the things in this video. With that said, here are 5, kind of 6 tips that have helped me sell books. And the first 2 rules, if you're sitting at a con right now and watching this on your phone, like, oh, how can I sell these books better? They're not going to help you because they're things that you should have done before you got to the convention. And the first one, this requires you buying a couple things, but the first one is you should make your table look good. There are 3 things that you can buy to make your table look good that I've found. The first is signage. The second is candy, and I'll explain that in a second. And the third is book stands. Let's talk about signage first. So I've got these little handbills, these little cards. This is a bookmark promoting the release of Mercy House. And this is a card that says, keep horror strong, read a F, $, %, ampersand, ing book. People love this because they see it and it's not like, Adam Cesare, come meet Adam Cesare. I'm not talking about myself, but on the back I have my books. It's something they can kind of look at, get a giggle at, kind of probably agree with. If they're going to buy one of my books, they're probably readers, or maybe they're looking around them at the convention and saying like, yeah, you're right, these people should read a book. Which is not what I'm saying, but it's what they're saying. So something fun like that to give out, and something that has your website and all your books on it. Very, very helpful. But that's once people get close to the table. When people are far away from the table, you need a sign to let them know. And this, there you go. There's my name. There's my books. Threw this in like MS Paint or whatever. Got this done very quickly. Just took files of my book covers, dragged and dropped them in. A little bit with my girlfriend's help, her design. And we just printed it up with Vistaprint, which is very, very cheap. If you're thinking like, oh, he probably spent a lot on that sign, it's like 30 bucks. It's cheap and it's vinyl, and I can reuse it and use it forever until I have new book covers, which some of those are actually kind of outdated, and some of them I kind of don't want on there, but I'll print up a new sign soon. Candy. We put a bowl of candy on our table. Matt Serafini and I, when we were selling last time we were selling together, we were selling out in Rock and Shock in Worcester, Massachusetts. We put a bowl of candy on the table. People come, they eye the candy, they want a piece. We see that they want a piece and we wave them over and say, candy's free, take some, but while you're eating it, let me talk to you about my books. And that's kind of a fun, low-pressure way to get people in because they feel like, oh, well, I'm taking the candy, I might as well listen. And maybe they like what they hear and maybe they buy something. What was that third thing? Oh yeah, book stands. Real simple. I guess I'll put a link in the description. You can get them on Amazon for like $4. Little wire stands that hold up your books. That's so that people can see them from across the room. If people are walking a convention hall, they don't want to get close to you because you're like, yes, please, buy my books. They want to be able to see that you have a quality product from across the room. Book stands, so you don't have to pile up books and make weird pyramids of books. Book stands make it look like you are a professional. You have your book cover right out front, your book or books, because I have a bunch of books to sell. Okay, that was a long that was a long first rule, but the next few are actually kind of quicker. Okay, rule number 2. You can't see this because everything looks so nice in my office, but right now my office is filled with boxes of books from publishers. In here we got some First One You Expects and some Tribesmen's. You want to order books realistically, but also optimistically. And to do that, you should maximize all the kind of other expenses that you're paying at the con. And that sounds complicated, but I'll unpack it right now. When you buy books from a publisher, and if you're self-published or you're an indie author, this is actually a lot easier for you because you can buy the books at cost from CreateSpace or Lightning Source or whoever. But when you sign a contract, and this is one of those, I bet you wish you've done this, I bet you wish you had a time machine, but when you sign a contract with a traditional publisher or small press publisher, you should really think if you're going to want to sell books at a convention, because you should really negotiate a fair price. If they're going to be using print on demand anyway, you should be negotiating a fair price for your copies. It really only costs the publisher a couple bucks to get these things printed and shipped out to you. So hopefully you're paying as close to as what they're paying as possible. Something to think about when you sign a contract. So that's one thing. Buy books that you can buy cheaply and kind of feature those books, and hopefully they're the books you like and think best represent you, but only buy as much as you think you're going to be able to sell. I have a ton of boxes of books, but I've kind of built up to this and feel like, okay, I can sell this many at this convention, or if not at this convention, I'll have very few excess books left over, and I'll still have to reorder next time. Because I don't want to have to put all my profit, put all my maybe what I made last time selling books into the hotel room, flights, and then shipping these books down to a convention. So I'm not doing that this year. I'm saving a little bit of money there. But it's all stuff you should think about. I know people that sell books at conventions and have a very small margin of profit because they're nice guys and gals and they want to sell books for cheap. And there is a reason to do that, because you're getting your books out there and you're helping spread your name around. But if you can make a little money, why wouldn't you? You're there, you're paying to be there, you're paying to sell books. One more thing to go along with that, I'm saying paying to sell books. If you're not like a guest, if you're not invited to be at a con and to have a table at a con, to be like in like the celebrity area or whatever, likely you're going to have to buy a vendor table. And there's going to be different cons do it different ways. But you should look into how the con's set up, and if they're charging like a kind of a real steal for an author or artist alley table as opposed to a table in the main vendor room, you might want to check that that's actually a good deal, because you might be stuck in a room with a bunch of people that paid the cheaper price for a table, but they're not selling any books because they're not in the main vendor room. In my experience, it's better to split a table with a friend. This next week, I'm going with Matt Serafini and Scott Cole, and we're splitting our table, and we're paying less. And we're in the main vendor room where we're going to be able to sell more books because there's just more foot traffic, and that's the way it is. So this is all stuff to kind of get you thinking about it before the convention. Now we're moving on to rules 3 through 6, which are things you can do at the convention to help sell books. Number 3 sounds very vague, but it's just know your stuff. If you're at a horror-specific convention or you're at a sci-fi-specific convention, you should know something about the genre, and that sounds like a no-brainer, but I've been at conventions and sat next to people who are like, I don't really like sci-fi, or I don't really read this stuff. They don't know who the people at the convention are cosplaying as. They don't know what's on people's shirts and things like that. And no offense to them, but if they're just kind of like trying to profiteer off the genre or profiteer off like geekdom in general, and they don't know or care about this stuff, why the hell would I buy their book? And who's to say their book's any good? Because if they don't read inside the genre, and if they don't know the genre, it's kind of a red flag that maybe this book isn't written with the best of intentions. It's just written to, fleece people out of money because they thought, oh, being an author is get rich quick. And they're in for a real surprise there. But not only know your genre, but know your own work. Know how to best sell your own work. I have a bunch of different books that have a bunch of different kind of themes and subgenres and subcategories. If someone walks up to me and they're wearing a Reanimator shirt, I'm going to push them towards something that is a little bit more splattery, a little bit more fun. If someone comes up and they're dress like a normal and they kind of only like thrillers and they're here with their kids or something like that and they read a lot of Dean Koontz, I'm going to push them towards something that is a little bit more user-friendly, a little bit more down-the-middle thriller. And I have that ability because I have that kind of genre diversity on my table. If you don't, you should still know how to sell to people that like the kind of thing that you write. It shouldn't just be, oh, I write hard, generally. You should be, you write X, and you would like it. You, specific person standing in front of me, would like it because of Y. That's it. That's as simple as that. Number 4. This is going to be harder for people who are low energy, who are not as kind of like outgoing maybe as they would want to be. And we're all authors, so we're all agoraphobic and introverted to a certain extent. But you got to really put yourself out there. And if you can stand at your table, you should stand. You should be alert, but not desperate. You see someone, they're wearing like, you know, the example I use in a Cemetery Dance article, which is kind of like this video. I'll link in the description of that. But the example I use, if I see someone in a Blood on Satan's Claw shirt, that's not an everyday occurrence. I'm going to be like, oh, Blood on Satan's Claw, you like British folk horror, and we'll start talking about that. And then the conversation will kind of naturally shift to, oh, well, I wrote this book that's kind of like that. And it's not phony. You're not taking advantage of anyone. You're a fan. You're a fan at a horror convention, and you're doing, you know, what fans do. Talk about the stuff they like. If you can't have those kinds of conversations, don't try to fake it, because it will look really bad. But just be high energy and nice and like, oh, I like your shirt. I like, you know, I like your costume. How long have you been here? Who have you met while you're here? Talk about that kind of stuff, like specific to the convention. Act like a human being, not like a robot just trying to sell books, tunnel vision, because you will sell way less books. Number 5, and this is where I get a little controversial. Be humble. If you are going to a convention and you're not invited as like a guest, or you would know who you are. If you were Jack Ketchum or Stephen King or Joe Lansdale, who's going to be at Scares That Care, if you're one of these authors that people are going to travel, going to get in the car and drive across the country to go see and get their book signed, you probably don't have to worry about like letting people know who you are. But if you're an author who's just buying a table, no one knows who the hell I am. I have a ton of books out, and it doesn't matter. People come to the table, I say, hi, I'm Adam, and these are my books. And that part sounds redundant because I'm standing in front of a book or standing in front of a table that has all my books on it, and they all say Adam on it. But you'd be surprised how many people are like, oh, you wrote these books? Yes, I wrote these books. I'm the author. So get that right out of the way up front. But also don't be like, I wrote these books. Don't sit behind your desk with your arms crossed, kind of like this smoldering genius, and why aren't people buying your books because you're the greatest thing since sliced bread. No one knows that. No one can know that from, you know, Joe Schmo sitting at a table at a con. You have to tell people why they want to read your books. They're not coming preloaded with that knowledge. And if you act like you're arrogant and like act like you're pissy pants and you're not having a good time, and why aren't these people recognizing your genius, I'm not going to want to buy your books. They're not going to want to buy your books. Generally, people aren't going to want to be around you because you're probably not a nice guy or girl. All right, number 6 is kind of a joke one, but have fun and stay caffeinated. You are at a convention surrounded by thousands of people that love the same crap that you do. You should celebrate that. That doesn't happen every day. It should be fun. You should be awake. It should be alert. You should get some sleep. You shouldn't just be hungover the entire time like a mess. No one's going to want to buy books from you. Have fun, but don't have too much fun, and stay alert. And this week's book recommendation is, last week I talked about Scott Cole's Super Ghost, and this week I'm going to continue the nepotism train because I'm hanging out with these guys next weekend. But this is a great book. It is Island Red by Matt Serafini. It is a shark horror novel, but also has a kind of extraterrestrial bend to it. It is easily his best writing to date. Very propulsive, very fun if you're kind of like a Michael Crichton-esque reader, even if you're not like that directly a horror person. If you're a horror person, you're going to love it, but if you're right on the bubble, you're still going to really like it. Cool book. Glad that I'm hanging out with Matt, and I'm going to watch him sell this week. As for myself, the con season, the Kindle Scout campaign is still going. It's been hot and trending for a bunch of days now, and I so appreciate everyone who's been able to click over there. It takes 2 seconds, read the excerpt, read the blurb, hit the nominate me button, and maybe, just maybe, Kindle will check out what I'm doing and give me a book deal for that. But I'm very proud of the book. I'm very proud of how it's been doing so far. So thank you everyone who's shared that link and clicked that link and nominated the book. All right, that's it for this week. I hope to see you all in Williamsburg, Virginia for Scares That Care. If you are going to be there, please leave a comment. If you're not going to be there, please leave a comment and say, you know, frowny face, hope to make it next year, something like that. It is a lot of fun, and it is, again, for a great cause. It is a charity convention. I'll put their website in the bottom of the video, and you can all check it out.